When business slows down, the instinct is simple. Lower the price, run a deal, make it cheaper. It feels safer, doesn't it? But for small independent restaurants, being cheaper is often the fastest way to make the business more fragile, not more secure. In today's video, I want to explain why being cheaper is not being safer, especially for small restaurants. How price cuts quietly damage brand and customer mix, and why competing on affordability often destroys the very experience that people were choosing you for in the first place. Let's get into the video. Price cuts feel safe because they're immediate. You can change a number. You can see a little bit of short-term movement sometimes. You feel like you're doing something. But safety in restaurants isn't about short-term traffic. It's about who you attract. It's about what those people expect from you in return, and whether your experiences still make sense in the minds of your diners. That's where cheaper starts to become dangerous. So let's talk about the first problem, which is brand damage. See, price is a signal to people. When you lower your prices, customers don't just see a deal, they infer meaning behind that. They ask, is this place struggling? They ask, is this experience less special now? Is this less exclusive? Is this interchangeable with cheaper options? See, once your brand starts to slide downward in perception, it's very hard to climb back up in the minds of your diners. Restaurants rarely lose brand value all at once. They erode it quietly, one temporary price cut at a time. The second problem is that you start to attract the wrong customer base. Now, lower prices don't just bring in more customers, they bring in different customers. Customers who choose primarily on price. And there's a few problems with these types of customers. They're less loyal, they're more demanding, they're quicker to leave, they're slower to forgive mistakes. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily bad people, they're just not aligned with what most small independent restaurants are built to deliver. A restaurant designed for experience will struggle when it attracts customers who shop for bargains. The third problem is that when you consistently lower prices, you cannot deliver the right experience anymore. And here's the part where owners rarely articulate. When prices drop, margins tighten even further. Staffing starts to thin, pressure starts to increase, and patience starts to decrease. The experience suffers, and that's what you cannot afford to happen. That's not because the owner stopped caring, it's because the economics no longer support the experience that you want to deliver. You can't sell a premium or a thoughtful experience on discount economics. Now, to really drive this point home, I want to give an example of two different chains. We'll look at Panera Bread on one hand and Burger King on the other. When you think about Panera Bread versus Burger King at lunch, they're both fast. They both serve food quickly, but they're selling very different experiences. Panera sells an experience that is calm. They sell predictability. They sell comfort. They want to be known as a place where you can sit and breathe. Burger King, on the other hand, sells speed. They sell price. They sell efficiency. And it's important to remember that neither approach is wrong, but imagine Panera trying to win by becoming cheaper than Burger King. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't feel safer. It would feel confusing. And that confusion is what happens when small restaurants chase price. Now, here's why small independent restaurants cannot out-cheap big chains. See, chains are built for price competition. They have large, massive scale. They have immense buying power. They offer loss leader items. They make money elsewhere other than food. Small restaurants don't have that luxury. And when independents cut price, they're not competing with the chain. They're really just absorbing the pain, the economic loss that chains are built to naturally withstand. That's not safety, that's just price exposure. Now, here's why focusing on being cheaper changes expectations permanently. And this is critical to understand. Once customers experience you at a lower price, then that lower price becomes the new reference point. Future pricing feels like a loss to them. So that effectively means that it's going to be very difficult to attract the same customer at a higher price with the same product. Returning to normal feels like a penalty in the minds and budgets of your diners. You can't easily undo that expectation. And being cheap is sticky in the minds of customers. They remember price points if that's what they're focused on. Here's what actually feels safe but takes courage. See, what actually creates safety is clarity about who you're for, consistency in your experience, familiarity over novelty, confidence instead of apology. Restaurants that feel safe to customers don't compete on price, they compete on fit. Cheaper often feels safe because it's immediate, but safety in restaurants does not come from price alone. It comes from having the right customers, having the right expectations, and the right experience. When you trade those in for short term traffic spikes, you don't become safer. Your business really starts to become weaker. Okay, small restaurants, they don't lose because they're too expensive in most cases. They lose because they become unclear about what they're offering and who they're offering it to. In the post pandemic economy, it's important to remember that just having good food is not good enough anymore. And if no one walks through the front door of your restaurant, then nothing else matters. I'm Donovan Garrett. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.